This is the IMDb show presented by our friends at Kellogg's. Cary Elwes, welcome to the IMDb show.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
A pleasure.
Welcome. This is a real pleasure right here.
Oh, thank you.
We're all huge fans of yours, and even more so now because you, sir, are on the brand new season of Stranger Things. How does it feel?
Amazing. I'm thrilled. It's one of the great shows I've ever watched. Before I was in it, I binge watched it with my wife, and yeah.
Did you binge watch it when you got the job, or were you already organically watching it?
We were
Tell the truth.
organically into it because I'd heard about it, and I'd heard about the terrific performances. I'd heard about the production value, and then I'd heard about the Duffers and how great they were. And so my wife and I, it's the first show we ever sat down and couldn't stop watching.
For good reason. Now you join the fray.
Yes.
As Mayor Klein, the mayor of Hawkins.
Yes.
Who is he? Tell me about him. Good guy or bad guy? What's the deal?
Well, I try not to paint my characters with one brush, but I guess you could say that he's a complicated guy. How about that? He's a politician.
He's a politician. Say no more.
A politician, and he's very self-centered. Say no more. Very egotistical. Doesn't always give you the answer that you want. And yeah.
So what sort of backstory did they give you about him walking into this?
Well, you know, I asked the Duffers to fill out a form. I give a little questionnaire to the directors that I work with.
Do you? What's on it?
Well, you know, just interesting things that I want to delve into about the character, what their backgrounds are, what their dreams and hopes are, and their fears, all kinds of stuff. And
sorry, I've actually never heard that before, so I'm very curious. So what sort of things do you need to learn about your character before taking on the journey?
Everything about their past. Their upbringing, their social economic background, what their aspirations are, what their hang-ups are, what their fears are. All of those things help me to develop a more well-rounded character.
So it's literally a questionnaire?
It's literally a questionnaire.
You give it over?
And so they sent it back, and after I read it, I looked at it and I went, am I playing Trump? And they were like, no, it's just somebody who sort of kind of has some similar characteristics.
What was look, they are no doubt familiar with your body of work,
right.
A great body of work that is. What was the audition process like? Is it, when you're working on a show like this, is it very secretive? Are they,
yes.
Is it different from another production?
Well, I think the dialogue I was given was obviously not the dialogue that had been written, because it was before the season had even been written, but no, I went in for one meeting with them. I think I laid myself on tape for them with the wonderful Carmen Cuba, who cast the show, and I got a call that day. So I was very, very happy, obviously, and I very much wanted to be a part of it. As I said, my wife and I had watched the show, and we were big fans, so it was a great thrill.
What do you love about Stranger Things?
I'll tell you exactly what I love about it. First of all, I love the kids. I think they're amazing. I mean, the whole cast is terrific. There's not one person that doesn't make you be emotionally involved with them. But the kids are great. But the Duffers, I love their style of filmmaking. They're great fans of Steven Spielberg, as you probably can tell. And their idea was to take E.T. and instead of making the alien a sweet, friendly alien, it was something malevolent, right?
Right.
And instead of in E.T., where they're trying to protect the alien, these kids are trying to warn everybody about it. Nobody believes them. And I thought that's such a great flip on that concept. And they're great students of Spielberg, so they really, every nuance that you see in the storytelling really comes from that foundation, which is terrific. And I'm a huge Spielberg fan myself, so I got it right away.
So, something that must be hugely helpful for you as an actor, apart from the questionnaire, is the set immersion. Their ability from so I'm a couple of episodes in now in the brand new season.
Right.
From that very first scene, the immersion of this prop design, the set design. How deep do they go? Now that it must be like Disneyland when
It is. It's a very good analogy. It's totally like Disneyland because their attention to detail is so phenomenal that there are things on the sets, props, decoration, everything, that may end up never being on film, but because it creates the atmosphere that you need. And because they want to, obviously, all the production value is so incredible. All the teams want to make sure they give the Duffers an option if he wants to turn the corner inside a mall and go into a store. That store is fully stocked with everything from the 80s. Like the movie theater, for instance, had a lobby that had popcorn in it. I mean, the detail was phenomenal. I was blown away by it. I hadn't seen that kind of detail since I visited like The Shining, the set of The Shining.
You were on the set of The Shining?
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about that real quick. One of my favorite, actually my favorite horror movie of all time.
It's pretty darn great. Kubrick wanted the Overlook Hotel built because he didn't fly, so he wanted to build the whole thing at Elstree, and he built the lobby, which you see in the film, and also the 2 elevators that spew blood. Obviously, those weren't working elevators, but there was another set of elevators that did work, that took you up to the first floor, which then had a full corridor of rooms, including the famous room 238.
So the shopping mall that I have started seeing being used as a new set in the show, how expansive is that? Because the crazy thing is, first of all, the people, everyone is dressed head to toe. There's hundreds of people. So the actual shopping mall is...
Oh, it was it was an empty mall when they got it, and it was a practical 80s mall by the time we came to shoot it. With everything you could imagine.
It must be Instagram heaven.
Oh no, it was nuts. I took so many pictures, and they kept telling me, you can't post any of these, you can't post any of them. But I said, well, I'm going to keep them.
Let's talk about this awesome young cast. Definitely one of the biggest draws of this show. What is it like working with them? They're just so talented, so brilliant, and such really the crux of the entire show. What's been your experience working with all of them?
Well, I can't really talk about that because that's
what are they like? Yeah. Okay, off camera.
Off camera, they're awesome. I mean, these kids are phenomenal, as you know. You don't need me to tell you that. There's a reason that everybody loves them so much, and of course, Millie is a phenomenon. You know, I mean, this was, I think, her first role ever. Yeah. I mean, to be jumping into that role and then make it her own and make it so iconic is truly phenomenal. But most of the other kids are trained kids. They're trained from Broadway. And so they were all incredibly professional and really like focused. And it's amazing and wonderful to be around because you're like, wow, I wish I'd been that focused at that age, you know?
You have a phenomenal number of credits on your IMDb page, 125. I'm sure that they would all love to have that number, even collectively.
Thank you.
They probably learn a great deal from acting opposite people like you who are veterans of the industry.
So. Is there anything... They're pretty self-assured kids. I don't think they're going to get any notes from watching me.
Is there anything that you learn from them?
Yeah, well, I always learn from every film or every show that you do is a learning process. I mean, if it isn't, you should pack up and go home, is my theory. So yeah, I always go and I'm like a sponge. I try and learn everything I can from every aspect, and not just from acting, but from directing, from the writing standpoint, from everything.
The Duffers, again, we spoke briefly about set design. Talk to me about the way they work. You've had a great opportunity to work with some phenomenal directors and creators in your past. What's special about them?
Okay, so the directors, the ones that I've found have been the most successful that I've worked with are the ones who create an atmosphere of creativity on the set. And by that I mean they're so relaxed that there's no tension at all from anywhere. And I think, and actually there's actually more laughter than you think, even though it's a very dark show. There's a lot of joy on the set. And I think my experience is that when you're on a joyful set, that's when people are relaxed and they do their best work, you know. And they do create that atmosphere. They really do. It's like a big family. Well, it's very much a family. Yeah. They create it's like creating a family, because when you're when you're doing a show, you are an extended family, right, for a period of time. And then sadly, it's like everybody goes off and goes their separate ways, and you know. But while you're together, you're all in it together, because that's the magic of making movies or making TV. You're capturing lightning in a bottle, and every department, everyone is working to that moment when the camera starts rolling to see if we can capture lightning in a bottle. And that's a beautiful thing when you think about it. It really is. All that focus to get the set right, and the costume, and the makeup, and the performance, and the lighting. I mean, there's so many variables that could go wrong. And when it works, it's like everybody knows. You're like, oh, well, we got that. Yeah.
I'm sure you have to find something you truly love about all your characters, whether you agree with them or not. What is something you really love about Mayor Klein?
Yeah, I learned from. I read a lot of books as a kid on film. I was a projectionist as a kid as well. So I became my own aficionado about movies. So I watched a lot of TV and I watched a lot of movies, which, as you know, being from Britain, that our TV is phenomenal.
Is the best.
Right? And we had high def before you guys, by the way, okay? And we had incredible channels that would play movies that were classic movies, like BBC Two, for instance, would do afternoon matinee films, which were just fantastic. So, yeah, I grew up watching movies, and that was my thrill. I enjoyed them so much. My favorite actors, I would find their books, like Richard Burton or Laurence Olivier, and I remember Olivier saying you should never judge the character you play, because if you judge that character, you're already giving the audience your take on him. So whether he's good, bad, gray, and whatever the character is, you should never judge them and allow the audience to make that decision. And so that was a great, that was the light that went off in my head as a teenager.
So then what do you love when you get into the suit, the costume, the props that he has? What is it you really enjoy about? What do you relish about him?
Well, the costume is like a skin. That you know, when you found the right look for the character, you can and you know that that's their skin, that's what they feel comfortable in. That helps enormously. For me, it's the questionnaire that I told you about, and doing the research, just finding out what makes that character tick. What makes him interesting, what makes him memorable, what makes him, what makes him fascinating to look at.
I like the way he lights a cigar. That's my answer. I like the way he uses a cigar as a power mechanism.
That's funny.
You're having quite the moment right now, because if Stranger Things didn't keep you busy, you just signed on to the other best television show out there, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yes, wonderful show.
What an amazing show.
Amazing.
Were you a fan of this one, or did you have to binge watch it?
This I actually now have to start binge watching. I mean, I knew about the show, but I got the word only a few weeks ago, so now I'm catching up, but it's just an incredible show. I mean, talk about production value and performances. I mean,
do we have any, can we find out who you're going to be, or you can't say anything?
I can't say anything, which is so sad. I'd love to be able to share it with you, but they're very tight-lipped about it all. All I can tell you is that it's really funny and very exciting. Yeah. You must feel like a time traveler, because on one set you're going from the 80s and then jumping to the 50s. Yeah. Is it strange, by the way, doing the 80s, because you were working in the 80s? Right.
You were, so you must be a great historian to be like, that's right, that's wrong.
No, I don't. They don't, honestly. They don't need my help at all. I mean, the Duffers only hire the best around them, and as you can see, Amy does with Maisel. I mean, the department heads on every are just phenomenal, and all the crew, really. It's just, they bring so much to it. And that was the other thing I should tell you about.
Tell me.
Creating the atmosphere for the character. When you really feel like you are there, that's when the moment of disbelief happens for me, where I just suddenly I'm in the moment, I'm there. I don't see all the crew. I only see the actors that I'm working with, and I just lose myself in the moment, being present with the people I'm working with. You know.
And is Marvelous Mrs. Maisel as deep when it comes to immersing you, allowing you to lose yourself?
Oh gosh, yeah. No, it's. I mean, I can't wait. I've already watched season 1, and I cannot wait to get into the next one. And they're very. I love the style that Amy does and the way that she does a lot of one takes and. But I looked at the production value there. That's New York, and they're driving down streets with, Park Avenue at night, even at night.
They're not building that set.
No, and I'm looking at that. I'm going to my wife. I'm going, this is crazy. It's unbelievable. It's just the quality of it. They're getting out of cabs in downtown in Greenwich Village, and it's incredible.
If there was any reason to start an Instagram, it would be around that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Listen, you've got over, as I mentioned, 125 amazing credits on your IMDb page. It would be very tough for me to talk to you about everything because we just don't have the time.
No, sure.
So here's what we did.
Okay.
I took a pick of kind of my top 3.
Okay, cool.
And I want to ask you a couple of key questions.
Sure.
Ready?
Yeah.
The Princess Bride.
Yep.
Iconic classic.
What's that movie?
It's this movie. You're in it.
Oh.
We all have our favorite scenes. Mm-hmm. What is yours?
I can't pick any one day because every single scene was hilarious. I can't remember a day without laughter on that set. Talk about a joyful set. Every day was fun. And so I can't pick one moment over another. I know what the saddest day was. It was the last day, which is when we shot the kiss. And that was the very last scene of the film, which Rob did intentionally. He wanted to end the movie with the kiss. So yeah, it was a joyful experience, truly.
Do you have a moment other than the ones that you're in where when you watch it back, you're like, wow, those two are great?
You mean other people's movies?
Yeah, other people when you're not in a scene, just when you watch it.
Oh, God, yeah, like Glory, watching Morgan Freeman and Denzel. I mean, just...
You would actually turn up to set?
Yes, I would.
Even when you weren't working?
Absolutely, I do that a lot. I like to go and watch certainly want to see what they're doing with their characters because that helps me with mine and how I fit into that puzzle, yeah? But I also like, I like to go and watch and see how other what their method is and
Another movie that I love.
Yes.
Saw.
Okay.
It's iconic.
Thank you.
We know as horror fans, we know so much about this film, just from the IMDb trivia page and watching James Wan's career.
Right.
Tell me something that no one knows about this production.
Let's see. When I first met with James and Lee, I met them here, actually, in the farmer's market in LA. On Fairfax.
Scary place.
Scary, very scary. And I'd read the script and I'd seen the short that they'd made. And I didn't know what to expect because the script obviously was truly phenomenal.
Because they shot a scene?
They shot one scene as a demo reel, which is the reverse bear trap thing, with Lee wearing it actually. And they showed up and James had a portfolio under his arm. And he spread it out on the table and he unzipped it and he started to show me all the artwork. And I was like, wow, these are beautiful. They were ink and pencil and watercolors, yeah? And there was the bathroom in perfect detail, and there was the pig drawing of the mask and everything, and then there was the little doll on the bike and the whole thing. And then I turned the page and there was this blueprint of the reverse bear trap. And it was very detailed. And I turned to James and I went, wow, that's quite a detailed thing. And he goes, oh yeah, it's operational. And I thought, okay, these guys are serious. They were so detail-oriented about how this picture was going to look, how it was going to cut, how it was going to, everything. And I just knew it was going to be really phenomenal.
Why do you think they found you for that role?
I think they were desperate at that point because everyone else had turned them down. Yeah.
Worst case, they could just sell their stuff at the farmer's market.
There's always Cary Elwes. He'll do it.
Not anymore. Cary's busy. Listen, one of your first credits is actually not even an acting credit.
Right.
We went deep on this one, but we're going to add it if it's true. When you were 16, you were a PA on Superman. True or false?
True.
And you were assigned to an actor that we may have heard of, Marlon Brando.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Really?
Well, I first met him on the set of Missouri Breaks in 1976 in Montana. And when I worked as not really an official PA on that film. But...
you must have been young, so that's
I was 13,
young. 13,
but I was on the set on that. And then Superman, I just did a couple of days, but he was a character, Marlon. It was one of a kind. Look, actors consider him the silver bear the silverback of actors. He really was a giant, and he was funny. He had no incentive to be on time on the set because his overages were $1 million a day.
Well, so me and Brando have a lot in common.
Well, no, it made my life miserable because my job was to get him to the set on time. And of course he would say, oh, you know how to lie, don't you, Rocky? I go, well, he called me Rocky for some reason.
What, Rocky Marciano?
I think so. I never bothered to ask. I didn't want to like upset
So
him.
he just called you Rocky.
He's like, no, your name's not Cary, it's Rocky. And he said, you know how to lie, don't you, Rocky? I said, yeah, but they need you right now. He goes, tell him I'm still getting dressed.
And he'd be fully dressed and ready to go, you know, and just phenomenal. Every day was a different story.
So what was going on up there? Because whenever you hear about these stories, about these legends and stuff, there's always method behind what they would call madness. What did you witness? You saw it first.
I saw him, well, he had all his dialogue written out for him, or on one of those teleprompters, or he had an earpiece, someone feeding him the dialogue. But his theory was that in real life, you never know what you're going to say next. So that's why when you see him like looking up and doing that, he's actually looking for the board where his dialogue is, which was funny. And sometimes he put it on the actor's face in a close-up. You know, some poor actor had that, you know, the pages taped to their head.
He goes, just put it right there. No, a little higher. Okay, we're good.
This actor's off camera, like with the sides stuck to his head. It's hilarious.
Oh, I love that. Fantastic. This is part of the show where we do our watch list. Would you like to take part?
A what?
A watch list.
What's that? Oh, yes, sure. Yeah.
As you wish.
Okay.
Here you go. So many great shows and movies right now. What have you got your eye on? What are you watching?
I'm looking forward to It Chapter 2. I would like to see that. I'm looking forward to that.
So you're a horror movie guy. This is Shining.
Absolutely.
Saw and now
Yeah, no, because
Chapter 2.
that first one did my head in. That was really, I mean, phenomenal.
And we had our doubts, you know, bringing something that was so fantastic back to screen.
Right.
And they did so well with it.
Yeah.
And actually made it truly scary.
Yeah, no.
What are you excited about?
It's extraordinary. Yeah.
What are you excited about this one?
Well, I like the fact that they're now all grown up, and we have, you know, a different cast altogether, and now they're still obviously plagued by this trauma of what happened to them in their childhood. So I'm fascinated to see how they put that together.
Skarsgård's smile.
Yeah.
It's a smile only a mother could
unbelievable.
love.
The guy's unbelievable. I mean, what he can do with his face. It's like he can control each muscle on his face. Extraordinary.
Give me something else. What else?
Gosh, I don't know what's coming up. I want to see. What do I want to see?
Have you heard of any good TV shows that people keep recommending to you?
I want to see Chernobyl.
Okay.
I want to start when I finish Maisel. I want to start Chernobyl.
This is one of the highest rated shows.
Yeah.
On IMDb.
Yeah. No, I can't wait
What
to
do you
see
think?
that.
What's the pull there? Because, by the way, what a bleak story.
Very bleak story. I think the pull is that it's a story that people kind of know about, but no one really talks about because it's such a dark event in history. And as I understand it, the filmmakers decided to really go deep into the background of what happened and how it happened, kind of like the China syndrome, I think. Yeah. And so I want to see that. I want to see what that's about.
So that's two horror movies.
Yeah,
literally.
I guess. Well, yeah.
Do you want to go with something a little lighter?
Yeah, I don't know.
If you put The Handmaid's Tale down next, I'm putting you in a category.
Right? That's hilarious. No, I'm not even sure what's coming up this summer. Give me some names.
Well, let me ask you like this: are there any sort of guilty pleasure movies that, when they come out, that would be surprised that you race to go see?
Okay, so my local theater in the Pacific Palisades plays retro films.
Okay.
So last night I went to see Butch Cassidy on the big screen, and I got to tell you something. And when I lived in New York, so there were a lot of independent movie theaters back in the 80s in New York, and not so much anymore because obviously television has kind of taken a lot of that away. Uh-huh. But so I used to go and watch all these films that had been in theaters already that they were playing again, like Chinatown or French Connection, things like that. But last night I hadn't seen Butch Cassidy on the big screen since when it came out, and I'd seen it obviously many times on the small screen. But what you miss on the small screen, because it's very rare that any network projects the film in its original format, and this was shot by the great Connie Hall.
Yeah.
And I saw things I hadn't seen from when it first came out.
Like what?
Oh, details of extras and lighting and sets and costumes. My God, the detail of the costumes. I mean, this is all Western costumes that they went and George Roy Hill went and took Paul Paul Newman and Redford there. And the costumes are just, I mean, Catherine Ross, you can't appreciate it till you see it on the big screen, how phenomenal her costumes are. They're beautiful.
Love that film. It actually makes me want to go. Which theatre are you taking me to? Okay.
It's Cineopolis.
There you go. Listen, Cary, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We're all such fans. Such a pleasure to meet you as well.
Thank you.
They say don't meet your legends, but this is well worth it. Thank you.